and welcome to this screencast on how to add custom CSS to your R Markdown documents. What I'm looking at here is just an example Flex dashboard, which has had the storyboard feature enabled, which we can see here in the source code. You can see the output is Flex dashboard and the storyboard option is set to true. Now, a storyboard is exactly what it sounds like. It essentially allows you to visualize your dashboard through pages, which might be a nice way of telling a story about your analysis. So each one of these here is a page that goes in a sequential pattern. But everything I'm going to be showing you here today should apply and should work for any R Markdown document that's HTML based. So you're not limited to the storyboard. But in this particular example, what my end goal is, what I'm trying to do, is increase the font size for these panels here, for these little storyboards. So the way that I'm going to do that is actually going to be by adding custom CSS. So the first thing that I will do is create a style sheet. So if you go into New File and select Text File, since we don't have a CSS option, that's fine. When I save this, I can just call it styles with a .css extension. And as you'll notice here is I'm actually saving it in the same directory as my .rmd file. And you can see that the RCDIDE automatically recognizes the file extension and knows that this is CSS. So for CSS, so we'll start with the CSS selector, and actually don't know what it is yet. So I'm just typing in this, CSS selector as placeholder text for now. And I'll go ahead and add the font size property, since that's what I'm trying to adjust. And I will just set an arbitrary value of 15 for now and see what that does. So I'll go ahead and save that and go back to my storyboard. So if I go ahead and reknit this document, you'll notice that it will look exactly the same way as it did previously. And the reason for that is because we haven't actually linked the CSS file to the document yet. So to link it, that's very, very easy. All we have to do is add the CSS option and then the name of the CSS file we just created. So I'll go ahead and reknit the document. And again, you'll notice that there was absolutely no change whatsoever to the font size or anything else for that matter in that document. And that's because even though the style sheet has been linked to my document, you'll see that the CSS selector here isn't really pointing to anything. So if you're wondering, what's a CSS selector, it's essentially, I kind of think of it as a label, right, for different elements on your web page, and it allows you to select specific elements on that page and then apply the style that you've defined in your style sheet to those elements on the page. So one of the ways that you can actually identify what the CSS selector is for each element on the page is by right-clicking and selecting Inspect. And what I'll do here is I'll actually just hover my mouse over the HTML code until I find the element I'm interested in here. So here it is. So you can see each of these here is an individual storyboard. So if I click on any one of these and then I go over to the style, this will give you the full CSS selector for this particular piece. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and copy this and go back to my style sheet and enter this as the CSS selector. And I'll go ahead and reknit the document. And now you'll see that the text on the storyboard is bigger, which was my end goal. So that's excellent. We know it's working. It's actually a little too big, so I'll go ahead and reduce it to 13 and rename the document. Rather than hitting knit or clicking knit with your mouse, you can also use a keyboard shortcut. If you're on Mac, it will be Command Shift K, and it will be the same thing as just hitting knit. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Perfect. That's looking a lot better already. It looks like I should maybe make it a little bit smaller, or maybe just remove some of the text from the storyboard here. Another neat trick that you might be interested in doing is if we go back to Inspect Element, you can actually, right in the web page, let's go ahead and find our CSS selector again. Let's see, maybe it was this one. Here we go. So you can actually select this and navigate over to this part here where you can see all the different properties. So I'm looking for the one that says, we got width, margin, border, cursor, font size is crossed out. Here we go. So font size is right here. That's because it's been overridden by this one. So you can actually go in here and manually edit the font size in real time so that you can see what it would look like. So obviously these changes are just temporary. You actually have to make those changes in your style sheet for them to take effect. But this is a nice way of quickly experimenting and seeing which font size or other styles look best for your dashboard.